Introduction. There you go. Britt Cumbie with LBMC Technologies. Right, I guess is it LBMC Technologies or is it LBMC? What is the formal name of your
LBMC staffing.
staffing? I'm sorry.
That's You did. A lot more than came, or is that going away? It is not going away, but it is definitely still part of us. Okay. How does that look for everybody? Is that showing up okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I'm going to start out first just applauding y'all to be here. I mean, this is great. If you're in a job hunt, one of the most important things you can do is to get out and meet people. Okay, I mean you just don't quit doing that. I mean, always it can be easy to get down and be discouraged when you're looking for a job. It is a marathon. Quite often, it's not a sprint. Typically, sometimes for people it's a sprint, but a lot of times it is a marathon. And so, keeping on going is one of the more important things I can tell you to do. It's not on my agenda necessarily tonight, but anytime we have these meetings, that's one of the most important things I can tell you is just don't give up. Keep on going. And so, Scott, thank you so much for doing this. I was just thinking about it in my mind. I've come in the last couple of months, 3 or 4 times, last maybe 2 years. Back when I started recruiting around 2005, I got involved in this group and would come to meetings about once a quarter and for a couple of years. And so I've probably been to, I don't know, maybe 20, 25 meetings. How many meetings have you been at, Scott?
It's about 7 years now. So about 100.
That is so key to have somebody that's here to encourage us when you're on the journey. That doesn't matter what you're doing, but it's a great chemistry. And I'm always impressed with how I go to Britt Baptist or down the street. We don't do this, and it's one of those things that I'm glad that United Methodist does. And so it's a great ministry. It's a great thing that you are doing. So I'm talking tonight about networking and networking that works, what to do and what to avoid, or maybe what not to do. And so we're going to talk about a lot of stuff on networking. Networking is actually a big topic. I was thinking about it driving up here for this meeting that, I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going to touch on that issue. And it's like, darn, I can't cover it all. So we're not going to attempt to cover every aspect of networking. I am going to have opportunities for you to ask questions. And so you're not going to hurt my feelings if you cheat ahead and ask a question that I'm going to cover on the next slide. I'll just tell you that. Otherwise, if there's something on your mind about networking as we're going through this presentation, please ask the question. And I can tell you, this topic is a rich topic. It's really a critical topic because it goes back to that point I just made: showing up, not giving up, running the marathon. A lot of what you can do as far as helping you find a job it turns out is really you do that by network. And so the networking rally, why are we talking about it? 70% plus jobs are filled through your network. Okay, so the first time I spoke in this last iteration of my relationship with this group, Jay asked me to come speak. Jay Gorman asked me to come and speak about a hidden market, and I remember him using that phrase, the hidden market, and that's I've got that right here. A lot of professional roles aren't posted publicly because the hiring manager is able to network and get to the person they want to hire without ever posting it. So should applying to posted jobs be part of your process? Absolutely. Should you be relying on that? If your idea of a search was just to post to jobs, that's an incomplete process at best. It's an incomplete process. So then the priority lane, referrals are consistently going to get pride in the process. And we work through resumes and how to wordsmith the resumes. We get through the search engines and the keywords and have all of it lined up so that we can outsmart AI or get through the process and get our resume looked at by a hiring manager. Networking is going to give you your best chance to make sure real eyeballs look at that resume, the decision maker looks at the resume. Not only do they look at that resume, but they have somebody whispering in your ear saying, hey, Ian's somebody you ought to consider hiring. They're gonna point that out when you're working that network appropriately, which we'll talk about how to do that here coming up. But competition gap, I mean, it's making the same point I've already made. So the elephants in the room are, whatever the mascot is. I don't know what UConn's mascot is. But so good, just tell me some facts about yourself. I'm from Texas. My team went to the Sweet 16 this year. I'm pretty excited about that. The girls threw a lot of bricks up and didn't make it to the final game this year, which was disappointing. Seriously, I've got Michigan by 20 tonight. Okay, so we don't need to rush out of here. It's not going to be that. So we'll stay here probably 2 hours. I've got 20 years of recruiting experience. Have been prior to that, I started out as CPA, working in accounting for about 10 years, and then got into financial recruiting and really found my call. I mean, I feel like I'm doing what I was to do all the time. So love helping people get jobs. So seriously, give me about 30 minutes, maybe a little bit less, and we'll get you out in time for the game. So, just when you think about networking, just to get to the punch, it's like, what should you be doing in networking, what you shouldn't be doing. But, even before I get to that, I meant to, one of the things Cloud about on the way is defining networking. So I'm going to throw this out to the audience. This can be online too, but how would you define networking? Does anybody have a definition for it?
Oh, okay, yeah. Thank you, Stephanie.
Anybody have a definition for me? Stephanie?
Networking is, everybody knows at least 10 people. So if you talk with one person and give them your marketing brief and let them know that you're looking for the next opportunity, they might be in conversation with another 10 people, and you never know where that might lead to the next opportunity.
So networking is a pyramid scheme. Is that what you're telling me? I'm just teasing. I thought about it from the standpoint networking is, and I was looking for my definition. I'm going to get to the full definition. But it's really a process of making connections that then lead to an opportunity to build a relationship. Okay, that's how I define it.
Repeat that, please.
It's a process of making connections that lead to an opportunity to build a relationship. So making connections that build an opportunity to lead to a relationship. That's in my bigger process of networking. That's what I think about it. There are situations, and part of what we'll talk about tonight goes to the other aspect of to me that's of a job search, which is calling your friends, calling your buddies. We'll talk about that. That some people will define it as networking. I'm not going to say that it's not networking. To some degree, you absolutely should be doing that as part of the job hunt process. But I think there are two different ways, and a lot of the skills that you would utilize in what I'm calling networking, you'd also utilize if you're just going to call your brother and say, "Hey, I'm in transition," and you help me think of people I need to be talking to. Okay, so again, what I'm really going to try to focus on is how I define networking tonight, which is making connections that then can lead to building a relationship. Once you build that relationship, if you can build that relationship, that's where the real magic happens in any job search. So does that sound reasonable? You like it? Yes, definitely.
That's very reasonable. The challenge, I know for me, I don't know for everybody else, has been to make that connection, if that makes sense, because most of the time you're having to upload your resume or send it through a medium where you don't know if it's going to be looked at or not, and you don't have that ability to get in front of the person to make that connection. I don't know if it's because they have a time capacity or what, but that's.
We'll address ideas of how to improve your chances of making that.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a great point. It's a good, I appreciate you making that comment. So let's kind of rethink networking. What is networking? What's not, what should you not do in networking? How should you not think about networking? So, if you're going out and networking events or you're meeting a group of new people, again, this is kind of what I'm focused on tonight. There's kind of situations where you're trying to build your relationships, increase your span of who you know, who you can be connected to. It's not asking for a job. When you go to an event, you go to church, you shouldn't be walking up to people as you're networking with them, building a relationship, making a connection, building a relationship. You shouldn't be asking somebody, hey, do you have a job? That's not really how you need to think about network as you're approaching people and trying to build those connections up. It's certainly not being salesy. It's not being pushy. I think when we think about the process of networking, and I take a step back on this, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves when we're looking for a job. And you come into this mindset of, hey, I'm going to go to that event tonight and I'm going to come away with a job. That's the wrong mindset, I'm going to tell you, to go into an event. And I'll get to your point here in a second, your question. If you approach networking opportunities with the mindset that I'm there to ask for a job, you're probably going to put a lot too much pressure on yourself. You're going to be pushy. You're going to come across as not somebody that people want to talk to. And then you're defeating your purpose, which is to make the connection, build a relationship. It's definitely not putting on a performative show. I mean, how many of us have been at an event where somebody else had to have the last word? They had to gobble up the conversation.
I wish only one.
Yeah, only one. Yeah, and they had to impress you. Their goal was to impress you, how smart they were, how much they know, their education, whatever it was. They were there to try to impress you, rather than try to build a connection with you. And so, when you think about what you should do on the other side, identifying how you can meet other people's needs. I really can't stress this point enough. I've got a couple points in this presentation that you will hear me say a couple of times. And there's a point, there's a reason why. But identifying how you can help other people. If you go into a networking function or activity and event with that mindset of, hey, I'm here to meet people, get to know them, get to understand what they're looking for. It's amazing when you take care of other people, how they'll take care of you. Okay, and that's not why you're doing it. I mean, we've heard of the golden rule, and that's just how we should live. It's amazing though how when you take that approach first. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be figuring out all about these other folks that are at the meeting. They will naturally want to talk to you and figure out what you're about. Most of them will. The ones that won't, that'll be a short relationship. There'll be a short conversation. But again, define making a connection that then results in a relationship, creating authentic new connections. That means being authentic, being real. I don't think it's, Fred came in here and told me right out of the gate, hey, I've been looking to get here to Nashville. I've got a brother that's in a health situation. I need to be here. I've been looking for a year. That was being real, and that's fine. But then, I think genuine transparency there. that's going to appeal to somebody. There's a thin line between being real and being negative, right? But it does, I think you can be real and kind of get to the point and then be able to move on through the conversation. But those are just some of the, when you're thinking about networking, maybe some of the no's and some of the yeses that I think are off with some of the bigger issues, I think. So we talked about this. Where do you start on that? I think that was something that Scott was addressing in the intro, is maybe we talk about where you begin. Absolutely. Even with my definition of networking, let's throw that out the window for a second. You should first start with people you have the best relationships with, people that are warm and close to you. That's where you start. And to go back to Stephanie's point, I'm about to land the plane on your question here. You got your inner circle, and we can debate on how these are defined or how we segment. You got your professional circle. So inner circle is family and friends, close friends. Professional circle, former coworkers, vendors, past clients. I don't think a lot of people think about people they've worked with, clients. I don't think they think about vendors that they've interacted with that know them. I don't think they ever think to call them. And existing LinkedIn contacts, if you really know them. I mean, people a lot of times will come to me and they'll see my LinkedIn profile or my LinkedIn connections. Go, Britt, your first immediate connection with this guy over here at such and such company. I'm like, maybe, you tell me so. There are people you're connected with that and there are people you're connected with that maybe you met them 5 years ago at an event, but you never built a relationship with them. So are they part of your network? Not really.
I mean, usually when I'm friends with people on social media, it's because we've had a personal connection.
Yeah.
Or they're a friend of a friend and they're trying to connect me to them through LinkedIn as a way to be introduced.
Okay, yeah.
So even though we haven't officially met, we were introduced.
Okay.
And that's how
Okay.
I like to build my social media.
And then, but once you build that connection, you get that introduction. By the way, you don't have a mic right now, so, but.
Oh, that's fine.
It's late. But say what you, just repeat that for our group listening.
So for the social media, I make a point to have a personal connection with people on my social media. But if it's somebody that's trying to introduce me to somebody, they'll link us up on like LinkedIn as an introduction. But that's how I build my network on my LinkedIn account. And
so what I would say is that's where you start. But then you follow up with them, you get a meeting, you meet with them, engage with them, hear their story, you tell them their story, you start to build a relationship at that point. That's an introduction to that, which is great. What I'm talking about is on LinkedIn, sometimes I would not start if I'm trying to if I'm going to try to start with my warmest contacts, it's going to be people I really already know. It's not going to just be somebody I'm connected. But fair game. I mean, eventually you have an order of priority here of how you're reaching out to people to try to start to branch out and build connections. Start out with your warmest people first. And in those conversations, we'll talk about in a second, there's a strategy that we'll get into as far as what are you going to say, where are you going to focus on, what are the leave behinds, what are the takeaways. There's that strategy, but the core strategy is start with people you know the best and then work your way down. I do have, I have friends and family in the inner circle, professional circle. We already talked through that. Extended circle, church connections. I mean, you've got some church connections that are close friends. So they're going to go up in their circle. But then you have people you have church that y'all wave at each other, but they don't even know what you do. One of my favorite church work stories is it aggravates me to have people raise their hand and say, hey, please pray for me. I'm looking for a new job. I just lost my job. I need a new job. And they leave it there. It's like, God works in mysterious ways. I don't. Tell me what you do. just tell me, hey, please, please pray for me. I'm an IT guy. I just lost my job. I need to find a new job. But at least give me something to go, okay, I maybe could help that person. I don't do IT recruiting, but I know a lot of people that do. So maybe I can walk up to them after Sunday school class and say, give me a ring. I can give you a connection. So, so again, that's a little side note, little bonus comment. On that, and I should go back here. Any questions on the strategic outreach? Anything here that surprised you? I don't know if you thought about the vendors, your clients that you've sold to or worked with in the past or supported.
I got a job from a vendor.
Did you?
Mm-hmm. When I left Vanderbilt, one of the software companies that provided services were hiring, and I got a job from them. And then one of my clients, after I left that company, one of my clients that I dealt with at that company said, "Hey, I need someone to do this kind of work."
Did you just reach out to him when you lost your job, or
we LinkedIn? Oh, sorry, thank you. We did LinkedIn. We were when I was still at that company, and then she said, "Hey, I know you're looking because I saw your LinkedIn, and I would do classes for her every so often for the software." Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. It was very helpful.
That's just, the point here is just write out as broad a list as you can of people you know really well, and try to think broadly. This is where truly like AI is a good resource where you can say, "Hey, help me brainstorm." You can literally load your Rolodex and help come up with a plan, from your Outlook contacts of who should I be reaching out to, prioritize them. So I know that maybe is a little bit more techy than you want to be, but there are a lot of ways to come up with a game plan of where to start. Go back, Stephanie, to your question. When you're looking through, you've got somebody that you're trying to get an in with. Mm-hmm. I would go through these connections and see if I have anybody there. And going to LinkedIn, to your point, if you're connected with a lot of folks on LinkedIn, like these people that are in your inner circle, the professional circle, that increases your odds to have some kind of connection to that company. And then if you can figure out you have some relationship at the company, don't just send your resume over there and hope that it gets looked at, but actually call or reach out to that person that you're connecting with and kind of go it that way. That's the way I would approach it. Scott, were you going to say something? Okay. So, mastering the event. Okay, so I'm going to qualify this. I have this in my mind. I'm thinking about a larger networking event, but the event could be here. Okay, it could be a group of more than 2 people. That's an event in my mind. So large events have a certain dynamic and certainly require some unique skills. Some of these comments will probably be most appropriate toward those. But honestly, any event that has more than 2 people is a networking opportunity, and you need to have a strategy. And a lot of the tips that I'm going to talk about here, I think, apply to those situations. Some of them might add some overkill for people. So some mastering the event ideas here. My favorite thing is to show up early. It's the easiest thing to do to guarantee that I'll make at least 1 or 2 contacts before the event even starts. If I get there about 10 to 15 minutes early, it depends on the type of event. Tonight, this event, you come 5 minutes early, 10 minutes early, and just say hello. That's a great thing to do to make sure that you're going to get to catch up with some people before the program begins. And then you also have an advantage, though. You're getting warmed up. You're already talking to people, you're making some connections when other people roll into the meeting. And then you're in that crowd of people that are already talking, making things happen. And usually people will walk up to you and be, looking to get into the conversation, include them in, pull them in when you're doing it. So take advantage. Maximum is getting there early to make a few connections. Yes, sir. Let's give it a mind.
Yeah. It doesn't hurt to also offer assistance at that event if you get there early. If they need some help with things, say.
Well, and so that's a great comment. Also, on those events, Britt, there are organizations in town that charge fees to join them or to attend the events. However, a lot of those organizations also look for volunteers. And so if you're in job transition and want to save some money, that volunteer idea is actually a really good thought. Sometimes you can kind of get to the event in the back door and attend as help them register people or sign people in as they come in, hand them the name tags. What are you getting when you do that? You're usually getting a list of all the attendees, and then you can go through and cherry pick who you want. So that's for a lot of reasons, that's a good idea. Icebreaker. So another tip I give is when you're getting to an event, there's a ton of people there. Look for the person that's by themselves that's not talking, and walk over there and grab them. It's a great way to get interjected into the event and be able to have at least a conversation, connect with one or two people. Remember, act of curiosity, what brought you here, and then listen. It's an easy intro. Hey, good to meet you. What brought you to the event tonight? Rather than it's a term of, what do you do for a living? They may not have a job, as you know, they may be in transition, but it's a great way to just say, what's brought you to this event? And then actually do something novel. Listen. Like, and the thing is, you may be making a connection with somebody that's also actively looking for a job. And y'all may be able to collaborate, work together, show the needs, or, just be able to bounce things off each other. Rule of three, this is random. I mean, everybody has different ideas, but I think the point here, depending on the length of the time of the event, probably 2 or 3 connections is a pretty good idea to go in there with the goal of about 3 connections would be good. And not just, getting their name and talking for a minute, but trying to dig a little bit. Now, I'll talk about later in the conversation. The rule of 3 is also important from the standpoint, don't get locked in with just one person. Stephanie and I are talking, we've already figured out we have a mutual acquaintance, a friend. I could have just hung out there. We could have talked about our friend Nancy for 20 minutes and I wouldn't have met the rest of it all. That would have been good. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, but don't get locked in and just talk to one person. So that's a concern I've seen. I've seen the downfall in being effective at networking events because you just get too comfortable sitting there with that one person. Closing the loop, ask what they're working on, who they're looking to beat. It's always a great idea. And reading the room, this is just an art in any of these networking situations. Just kind of get a read of the room, try to figure out. Some of this is your conversation with the person. If you can tell they need to go, they have somebody else they need to go talk to, let them go. Don't crowd them. Don't be offended. There's different situations. If you need to go, you see somebody else that's walked in and you need to go, don't just walk away from them when they're in the middle of talking to you. Be polite and say, hey, it's been great talking to you. Let them finish their point. Just say, it's been great talking to you. I need to actually step away from this I need to excuse myself from this conversation with somebody that I was planning to meet tonight. Do have some excuse me kind of comment that you make to them. Don't just briskly walk away and leave them restricted. So that's part of reading the room. There's other ideas here. Just be aware of your surroundings and try to not be so focused on yourself and your own goal. I've got to get a job that you don't be kind and treat others with respect. Before we go mastering the event, I'm going to talk about some tips I have as well. Any of your thoughts on just these broad thoughts when you're coming to a networking event? Any other tips or ideas this group has? I'm assuming y'all all have been doing a lot of networking. So is there anything else that you think would be important as you approach a networking event?
Get uncomfortable. For those of you that might be like more introverted, if you're not talking to more than one person, it's kind of more comfortable just to sit and talk to that one person. Go towards the discomfort, right? Because then it will feel less uncomfortable when you do it the next time.
Well said. Yes, I think that's exactly what I was trying to get at. I said it's easy, and I know we're all guilty of it. I've sponsored a networking group here for financial people in Nashville. And we have the biggest problem we have with the accountants is they get their buddy. They come to the meetings and they talk to that one buddy, maybe two buddies, and they don't talk to other people. And so then new people come to the group and it's a clique. You know, it's like, holy cow, guys, we got to get around and talk to other folks. Tammy, I think Tammy has a comment.
I'd just like you to go in more detail about leave the room.
Ooh, okay. What, in particular, what,
Now, I just want to know what you mean by that, really. Other than the single people.
yeah, so I think really what I'm saying there is I think my last point on that, which is, this goes back to what we talked about earlier. If your focus is all about you, you tend not to pick up on signals. When it's all about me getting a job, it's all about my conversation, it's all about what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to talk to you about Texas because that's what I love to talk. You're going to listen to me talk about Texas. And I'm not aware of the fact that tonight Texas isn't on the field. You know, they're not on the court. Or whatever the situation might be, right? Is being aware of the circumstances and the surroundings. I think in a job search, a lot of times there's a tendency to make it all about our own situation and be oblivious to other people's needs and their situation. And so that's really just another way of kind of saying, don't show up there and make it all about yourself.
Yeah.
Does that help?
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking of when you're walking a group of kids and you see a kid inside the restroom, how can you tell? They're jumping up and down and swirling. And so that's the same idea with everything else. Is just look, some of these have this tiny go just let the water go where it flows, let them go. And I think of that with churches and stuff too. The church I go to, I wish we would do more of this kind of thing. And some people, when it comes to job search and networking, are just, for whatever reason, they've never been through it or they're not open to it. You just let them know, you know. I think Bill Robbins has a phrase, it's just let them, you know. But whatever the situation is, you find where the water flows, where the doors open, and go through those doors and look for things and keep your mind open. I think in, you know, talk about religion and Christianity, talk about faith. And I was trying to think when I find the verse that's talking about the God can do what we ask or imagine. And that's the whole idea of getting out of the house, going to an event, being open-minded about it, and just being willing to try something new. You might have something happen or open yourself to an opportunity that you could have never even envisioned.
Well, and I think from a writer standpoint, you're right. A lot of what I'm talking about, though, Tammy, a good example, I was trying to think of an example there, maybe one, is if you're talking too much about a point, or you're talking about something, you know, that's, you can be aware of how your audience is receiving your messaging.
Mhm.
And we talked about this a little bit, just filibustering. I mean, that's a big one. You know, you're so stressed out about your situation. You know, I need to tell them about my whole resume. I'm gonna tell this individual about I'm gonna walk through my entire career in this networking function. And, you know, kind of, you know, I'll be in these conversations with people. I'm like, they're not aware that, you know, like we've been sitting here for now 20 minutes, you know, and there are other people here to meet and talk to. So there are little things like that, other big things like that can be so obvious that if you're taking a step back and kind of looking at nonverbals and seeing how things are flowing in an event, you might be able to pick up on that. I need to be a little bit more snappy here. I'm not always the best at this. Yes, sir.
And one other thing to remember at networking events is other people are there networking also. So just like Britt said, you don't want to tie them up from their networking, but also they're receptive to your networking, right? Because not everybody at a networking event is networking. A lot of people go because it's a free breakfast or whatever, but a lot of other people, they are networking too, so they want to meet new people also. And that's what, so if you can watch for those people that look like they're wanting to meet people, right? And then just like I said, don't monopolize. Always ask people about themselves. If the conversation gets monopolized, let it be the other person.
I laugh only because it sounds like you're dating.
It is dating. Oh, it is. It's speed dating.
What? You didn't know that? So that's some other networking tips. Some of these things, again, I'm reiterating, look for the person standing alone. Hi, I don't think we've met.
Yep.
Really easy. And it goes back to the point that Scott just made. Don't make it about yourself. I think it's one of the biggest issues I see in networking go wrong is you're making it about yourself. You're too focused on your situation and not being aware of what's going on with other people, or not taking the time to ask and find out. Show up early. I've already told you that. Again, it's so easy to show up early. It really is. And it's such a big advantage. It allows you to get warmed up and make some connections before half the group is there, or more than half the group is there. Ask how I can help you. I warned you already, so this would be a reiteration. Find out, who are they looking to meet? And this goes back to my point about networking and maybe collaborating, building synergies with other people. Find out why they're there, who they're looking, what they're working on. You may realize that maybe we're not exactly competing for the same type of opportunity, but maybe there's some similarities in the contacts that we're trying to reach out to. In my world as a recruiter, I network with bankers a lot. We're calling on the same people, we're calling on CFOs, we're calling on finance people. And so there's a lot of bankers in town that I take time to get together and get a coffee. I'm looking to find hiring managers so that I can fill a job. I can place people that I'm working with, my candidates. You're looking to find a job. You're looking to find a hiring manager. So there may be somebody else that's looking for a similar type of job or situation where if you learn, even though you're like, hey, I know you're looking for a job, you may not be able to directly hire me, but you might be on the same trail that I'm on, and maybe we could collaborate and share leads. So there's strategies in these networking events that you can use to gain information and maybe make connections that potentially, if I can speak here, could possibly help you get to a lead to a hiring manager, which is really what you're trying to do. Ultimately, is make those connections. So common pitfalls. Don't jump the gun. Never ask for the job immediately. Build the relationship first. They're not, just because you're in the same room with them, if you haven't gotten connected, number one, you don't even know if you're the right fit for them. You want to build enough of a rapport and connection with them and a relationship with them that you can figure out, okay, am I the right fit? Do I even want to work with them? We get in this job line and we think it's a one-way street. It really should always be a two-way street. You're going to find a job. You want to get into the right job. Read the room. We talked about this a little bit more. We'll make one more point on it, but this is just one take on reading the room. Professionalism, avoid negativity, and stay focused. This is a silly one, but I see it all the time. Don't show up at a networking event and start stuffing your face with food. You can maybe at the end when everybody's left. If you show up early enough and nobody's there, maybe grab a little snack. My rule is to go to a networking event. If there are people there for me to talk, I'm going to talk to them until the event's over. If I have time to grab food on the way out the door, I'll do it. Or if I've talked to everybody, maybe I'll grab food. But I try to go to events not incredibly hungry so that I can focus on wine that just really meet people. If I have to, I'm going to go down the street, go pick up a chicken sandwich at Chick-fil-A or something, right? There's food everywhere. You're at this event to meet people and talk to them, connect with them. The other part of that, negativity, staying focused. Those are important points, especially when you've been in transition for a while, is to be as positive as you can. Negativity is not going to win you any points with anybody. Any questions on common pitfalls?
It's time. It's time.
You said time?
Yeah. Okay. We had someone at my class was really negative, and I'm like, I'm so sorry.
Well, and that's where too, I was just thinking about that idea is, and I didn't practice this myself. Yeah, I've been working. And the idea is put it down on paper. Write it down, journal, get the stuff out of your head, and then I think you can be better prepared to be involved in any situation. Be safe as possible. Yeah, just to find the best angle out of the situation. Put it that way.
So one of the more important slots here, 48-hour. So you've gone to the networking event, you made some great connections. We're talking about networking is really about building a relationship. You're probably not going to build a relationship in that networking event, right? So that requires the follow-up. So, and something we did talk about in the networking event, if you're at a networking event and you know follow-up is important, this recruiter that's been doing this for like 20 years has told us that, the whole point of going to networking events is not just to connect with people, it's to actually build a relationship. I've got to follow up with them afterwards. So that means at an event, you need to figure out a way to get their name. Business cards are still a great way to do that. The guy, I will even take a picture of somebody's name tag. Like I'll take a snapshot of Fred's name tag. My daughter this weekend told me girls are never going to do that. So anyway, I'll take her word for it. She's smarter than I am. But what you can do is go to LinkedIn and literally go over to the side real quickly and type up, I get to connect with Stephanie. I'm going to go over and type up her name while it's in my head. And you can send them just a quick LinkedIn message right there on the spot. It's just an idea. You could also have in your notes section of your phone, you could just, if you don't want to do the quick LinkedIn message there on the spot, just type in the name of the person and then get back into the game. But you got to somehow have a way, ask them for their business card. If they're in a professional role, they probably have a business card, and it's starting to be harder, but I would always ask them for their card. If not, figure out a way, have a system to capture that name. Okay, so then you've got the name. Within 48 hours after the event, you need to follow up with them. And so you connect with them on LinkedIn. That's the easy thing to do, is just send a message to say, Fred, it was nice to meet you at the event last night. Boom. Or, just send a message, the connecting message. The other thing you can do though is go, if you have them on the LinkedIn, you have a lot of this information down. You possibly can look at it and figure out where they're from, or where they've lived. You can figure out where they went to college, and they went to college. People put a lot of facts that give you information that can be points of commonality. It can be topical. If I know we're picking on the basketball game tonight, but if I know you went to Michigan and I saw you at an event tomorrow, I'm going to be following up and saying, hey, it's great to meet you. That was a great game last night. You must be pretty excited or whatever. Or your team played well. I mean, there's an easy way to make a connection. I would love to get together with you and grab a coffee. Would you have time to meet me for a lunch? Or can you do a Teams call? You want to ask for that next step. And I think you want to be very, very direct. If you felt like there was any kind of opportunity there to build a relationship with them to help you, and then maybe you can help them. Somebody that you just like. So my general rule is if I can connect with them and there's an opportunity for us to work together in the future some way, form or manner, it's going to be worth me being a person. And the other alternative is I just like them. I'll ask them. So there are different mindsets going on there, but I'm going to definitely follow up in 48 hours. Connect with them on LinkedIn, but more than just reach out and say, hey, let's connect. I'm going to actually try to find some point of commonality to reference it, to make it a little bit more memorable. Any questions on that?
There's a message on the screen.
Yeah, Catherine online said that a lot of people have their own QR code that you can then read with your phone and have it load in a browser as a way to keep track of who you've met with.
That's right.
It's an up and coming.
The QR code is with the name tag. I went to one job there and literally they were pulling up the QR code for your LinkedIn profile and having people scan that on the spot right there with the person. So that's kind of more of a advanced tech issue.
Yes.
Catherine, were you going to add to that?
Yeah, I was just going to say it was actually a really easy way to connect with everybody on LinkedIn. And you just open your LinkedIn app and tap the search bar at the top, and there's a little QR code icon there. And you just click my code, and then anybody can use their camera to scan that code, and it connects you on LinkedIn instantly. So you don't have to worry about trying to remember everybody's names or writing them down or anything. So it was just it's really easy. And if people, like, somebody doesn't know how to do it and you show them how, they usually think it's really cool. So it's kind of a conversation starter. And so a thing maybe to do at a networking event.
And so that's an excellent way to connect. I would still follow up with them with that additional message. So even after you've connected to the networking event, you want to send them a note.
Create a dialogue.
Yeah, create dialogue. Like I said, you got to kind of evaluate, hey, is this somebody I want to try to meet up with? And that meeting can be even a phone call. It doesn't have to be in person. I think in my mind, the rankings of the meetings, high value meeting, it takes more time. If you can get them in person, that's the best scenario. Next best is to do like a video, a virtual meeting, and then you got a phone call. All of those are good though. And some people just don't have time, and you're just wanting to make a connection. How can we work more? You can kind of value or judge what makes sense and what to push for. And again, reading the room. If they push back and say, hey, I'm on the other side of town, or I'm really busy these days, you might pivot back and say, well, I totally get it. Would you have time for a 5-minute phone call? Or, could I reach out to you in a couple of weeks? Are you working on big projects right now? Or you must be busy because it's this time of year, whatever the situation is. I'll try to follow up in a couple of weeks. And then follow up when I ask for the meeting then. So final encouragement. I went a little bit long, so I apologize, but I started off trying to be generally encouraging, because to me, the most important thing is to stay in the game. So it's being consistent, it's staying positive, it's staying visible. I mean, those really, we get into a lot of the details, and the details are important, but what's most important is that you stay in the game, that you don't give up on the process. I think that is absolutely the most important thing in this process and the effort of finding a job. Any other questions for me?
Anybody online? Any ideas or questions from the folks online?
Just thank you. Appreciate you helping out, and always learn a nugget or two. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Suzanne.
Ian,
Are there locations or types of places you would recommend maybe going to outside of networking events to meet people?
great question. So Ian's asking where do you go to work? Nashville, I've heard this thing called the Career Transition Support Group. That's a great one to go to. Absolutely, chamber events. Williamson County has a really good chamber that has networking events. A lot of those events are free. You can go to the Williamson website and see their events. Of course, based on your background, if you're a tech person, National Technology Council, they're a really good group here in town. There's the financial, there's a couple of financial groups that are in town. They're good. There's also the Healthcare Council. Some of those groups cost money to get into their events. And so they can be an issue. Like I said, I really like the chambers. Pretty much every region within Middle Tennessee has a chamber. That's where one of the places I would start. There are also, if you go to the old Snell approach, you go to the newspaper, there'll be listings for various networking events going on in town or in the community.
You can Google a lot of that.
Yeah, you really can.
Collegiate groups.
Pardon?
Collegiate groups.
Yes. So like alumni,
Associations, yeah.
absolutely. And I think if you, I think the suggestion of Googling is a really great, I mean, like did you say marketing or I guess all orientation, that's right.
HR, yeah.
And you're interested in HR, and so sure. You know, you got involved in that, and so that's a great career to go to. Yeah, absolutely, great question. Any other questions?
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you so much for it. All right, folks. Thank you. We'll be here again next week. And if you need anything in the interim, check the volunteer list. Glad to help.
Thank you.
Thank you.